bringing us on to the next subject is for those of us who can get to the matches, those of us who can either have the season tickets in place or can afford the membership. And, there's been a lot of, I said during the intro, controversial membership cost changes this season. They've gone up another £10, so it will cost you £30 for the upcoming campaign to be a Wrexham member. You basically, you need to be a member if you want to have any chance of getting to a Wrexham game next season, certainly to a league or an FA Cup game. Potentially maybe a Papa John's game might open up. Interesting to see what the interest is like in those and how that is sort of taken on by supporters. But for your £30, like we said, you get the chance to potentially buy tickets. You get a personalised membership card and a welcome pack. You get access to priority tickets for all home games at the Kairos, access to the official club ticket exchange platform, which will be launched ahead of the new campaign, access to retail discounts offers and promotions from official club partners, £75 off a flight with United Airlines, although there is an asterisk there, and to be honest, seems pretty useless for UK supporters because I think they only fly from Edinburgh and Glasgow or somewhere stupid like that in the UK, where how many Wrexham fans will be able to take advantage of a £75 discount when it probably costs you more to get there in the first place? An e-birthday card, which, if that doesn't say value for money, I don't know what does, and a monthly email newsletter as well. You can compare it to previous years and say, yes, it's gone up again. What was it? Every year since the takeover, it's gone up by £10. So,
I mean, look, what was it? To cut you off slightly, when it was free, that was a very nice gesture. That was just to try and get the interest. Yeah, then in 2021, it was £10. In 2022, it was £20. In 2023, 24, it will be £30. So it's gone up. Yeah, £10 every year. There's an element of the price rise being inevitable. Everything is going up, really. And we got a lot of that. We've got a lot of that in the replies. We've got so many replies, Rich, to us asking, we put, what do you make of the increase, the price of success and huge demand, or a step too far when shirts and tickets are already going up in price? We said we'd share some thoughts. But this is what I put in response to it. You use a Didier Drogba gif from the Champions League. I went for the fact that it's essentially without capping the membership. So every member will get the chance to renew, which is 10,000 members. I know that will probably factor in. I don't know actually if that factors in season ticket holders because they're automatically members, and then additional members. But that everybody who's a member will get the chance to renew that membership, and then they'll open it up to new members. So the price is going up, and the number of members will go up. So I'm essentially paying £30 for a lottery ticket with less odds of winning the lottery. So it's a more expensive ticket with. Let's just say we end up with 15,000 members. Does that go then to a 1 in 20 chance to get a ticket compared to a 1 in 5? I think it's a minimum. I think the club's website says a minimum of 700 tickets available for a match day. Sometimes 7,000 something season ticket holders, 700 to 1,000 tickets, and then you've got the away fans to factor in. I think I've got more issue with the cap, with there not being a cap on the membership, because it gets to a point where if you don't have a membership, you've got absolutely no hope of getting a ticket. And if you do have a membership, you are still probably living on a prayer to try and get one. What I would say...
I guess maybe anecdotally then, I've got a season ticket. So
right.
I am living in my bubble. I'm quite privileged to this, that membership's included with a season ticket renewal, and the fact that I'm guaranteed I get a ticket to every home game, and I often get priority for away games as well. So I'm very, removed from this situation as well. I'd also say that I'm only buying for myself. If you look at a family of 4 going to the games, that's £120 on memberships alone to have a minute chance of possibly getting into the raffle or the lottery of getting tickets anyway. And then are you going to get 4 together? Very highly doubted. So, £120 for a family of 4 is quite frankly ridiculous, because it's £120 to get no guarantees of any tickets for next season. Ticket prices have also gone up. Kit prices have also gone up. Yes, you can say it's, the whole world costs more now. Inflation's at a record high, and their costs are more. But membership, there is no sort of outlay for Wrexham. That is just a number they've plucked out of the air and they can attach to it. So I'm quite upset with that. But anecdotally then, Dave, you are a member you personally don't have a season ticket. So, for example, last season, what's it like? What is the process actually like trying to get a Wrexham ticket?
So firstly, one of the things that will always come back, and I totally respect that point, is people will say, well, you should have a season ticket. I totally respect that. At the time,
Well, the fact is you can't get one anymore. So you can't buy one. Get a season ticket.
I would buy one if I could. But at the time when it was the last available chance to get one, I was working away most weekends for work. And perhaps naively didn't foresee this situation whereby that it would not be possible. So look, as soon as I could get a season ticket, I definitely would, but I don't have one right now. That is, part of the beast, nature of the beast. But membership, yeah, it's, joining an online queue, obviously far more members than tickets. And it is, you're just hoping. You are just very much hoping. I obviously don't care where I sit in the ground. I'll just go anywhere where there is a seat in the back corner or the front row or wherever the seat is. And you end up moving around and hoping for the best. And if you don't get a ticket, you don't get a ticket, which happened a few times to me. And you have to suck it up and listen to the commentary, Radio Wales or whatever it is. And it is what it is. But there's an element of, with only 3 stands. If I'm going to come in defence of the club, which I'd say huge demand, and they will be able to shift all the memberships at an increased cost. I've no doubt about that. Without a membership, you're going to have no chance of getting a ticket, which nobody will want. And with the COP, should that will ease slightly, I believe, ticketing issues, but I don't think it will be, the golden ticket. It won't be enough probably, but it'll go a long way to appeasing the tickets, especially if we're still in League 2 next season. But it's tough. And Rich, I'm going to read you, because like I said, we've got so many replies. I'm going to read you some of the responses that we had.
Nice. Like you said there, I think it is important to note that from Wrexham's point of view, they aren't a National League team anymore. And the club will no doubt argue, well, this is the price of success. We have that demand. We can set this price, and the majority of people will pay it. And the fact is that a lot of, again, this isn't an attack on them, but there's a lot of US fans, and a lot of them seem to have defended this, saying that, look, we understand that for maybe locals this isn't ideal, but in the US this is very cheap for what a membership package is, and for us to have that chance of getting tickets. So I respect their point of view. And I guess ultimately, Nath, the fact of the matter is that Wrexham as a club are going to make more money off overseas fans who do, I'm not going to say they're sort of day trippers, but who do quite literally come over to Wrexham maybe just to watch one game, and they're happy to pay somewhat of a premium to get the full Wrexham experience. And ultimately, they are the supporters who might come over and only get to 2 or 3 games a season, but each time they will spend maybe in one go what a typical Wrexham fan a local Wrexham fan might spend in an entire season. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah,
I do think that this is just part and parcel of us expanding as a club. And there is the argument of, well, this is what we wished for, this is what we voted for. If you want Wrexham to be a successful football club and to be going at the leagues, winning every week, having very good players, playing nice football quite often as a byproduct of all those circumstances, then maybe you've just got to accept that this is it. Yes, you can get teary-eyed and say this isn't the Wrexham Football Club of old, but that Wrexham football team was languishing in non-league and had no easy way or no sort of clear way of getting out of that division. So if you wanted to trade, being a bottom-end National League team for being a successful Football League team, then can you really complain at this? Because that is just part and parcel of it. I'm not saying that's my opinion, but I think that is what the club would argue themselves.
Right. Well, here are a few opinions that are also not ours, but are lots of people that replied on Rob Brown Red's Twitter. Thank you so much for all the comments on there. Craig Jones, but they don't seem to be taking families into account, as you said, Rich. It's a huge outlay for a group of 4, £120 when they're simply entering the lottery to get a ticket. And also, I don't see the reason for a 200% increase. I'm lucky to have a season ticket, but totally understand some of the dismay. What have we got here? Lee Burford puts supply and demand ultimately leads to higher revenues to invest in infrastructure or players. Joe Edwards put too much too soon. Immoral to be bragging about your 20 million turnover one week and making this move the next. Compare this to Premier League club schemes and you'll find you don't get anywhere near as much value. Alwyn Hughes put, this is nothing new in football. In the late 90s, I was paying about £40 for child and adult membership at Man United so that my son could apply for tickets. We were not always successful and never got to the big games. Josh put, sustainability comes at a cost, more so considering scale when compared to, say, Madrid, who could charge less for any product and recoup that loss through quantity sold. That being said, I think £30 offers poor value and could be made more palatable with free gifts, etc. Couple more than Rich. Claire Denovan, pardon me. But what can we do then? Myself and my daughter love going. It's very stressful each week getting the tickets, but as I said, I wasn't a season ticket holder beforehand, although I've been going since I was 12. It is what it is. I've seen many small changes creeping in that make me think. And the Red Horde Wrexham fan, who have we got here? Wrexham fan channel has put, the fee isn't ghastly, but the rewards could use tweaking. What if member fees were rolled over? So if when allotted season tickets, half the money contributed was discounted off tickets, shop did discount for merch isn't there, maybe due to merch supply issues. Dean, but I was going to renew, but reading the comments and the unlikely chance of getting a ticket again this season, I'm afraid it's a no. I'll do one more, Rich. Martin Jones, just a bit disappointed in this one, but I'm not renewing. Can't face the 10 a.m. scramble for a 1 in 10 chance of a ticket. So if you want to see all the comments on that, there are lots on our Twitter. Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking anecdotally, aren't they, Rich, in terms of how it affects, I'm obviously talking about it from my perspective. I want to go to as many games as possible. And so selfishly for me, it doesn't work in my favour. Totally understand that, and it works in some other people's favour. But I am surprised they didn't cap the numbers. I understand why you want to get as many members on board as possible and generate, as much as you can.
I suppose you're asking that. You're saying, do you want to put a cap on how much money we're willing to give you? Nath, it's like, Nath, do you want me to give you 10 grand or do you want 15 grand? You're not going to say, cap it at 10 grand, mate. I don't want 15 grand. Like, they're going to want as much money as possible to go into the club, and they will say, well, look, costs are up, not just in terms of we're buying more expensive players, our wage bill's very high. Next season, it's the fact that you have to get the policing on a match day. It's the fact that you've got to just deal with, just in general, the cost of operating a football club now is much more expensive than it would have been, pre the cost of living crisis. But like you said, Nathan, you've got to remember that I guess this is the transition ultimately of Wrexham from a football club to a business, isn't it? We've always looked at them as our local football team, but this is Wrexham becoming a big global brand now, and it's more ruthless. And I suppose you're always going to worry that the fans do end up just being customers rather than being supporters.
Rich, is there not an element that if there are so many members, so many more members than tickets available, is there not an element where you need to get creative with a ballot or a way to make sure that every member got to a game? I know maybe again that isn't fair. I'm spitballing ideas here, but
yeah, I certainly think that there'd be. Yeah, I don't know the logistics behind it, but maybe there was a credit system. Maybe but again, that probably relies on having a cap. If you had a cap of a certain amount of fans, worked out how many spare seats you had per match, drag that over the 46 game season, you might be able to say, well, look, each member can get to a guaranteed 5 or 6 home games.
Right.
And then that way, you can apply for a game, but once you've got a ticket for a game, one of your credits is gone, and you can only apply for another 5. You can get to another 5 games that season.
Right.
Maybe that is the fair way of doing it. How they'd actually implement it, I don't know. Can you imagine trying to do that on Ticketmaster? We have enough problems selling what we've got anyway. So,
Rich, I'm going to say it again. I said this the day the takeover happened, and then I stand by it today. I honestly think a loyalty scheme is necessary at this point, because I'm not even saying backdate it. I'm not saying that you need to go back through years and work out who's done what and, who went to Rushall Olympic and who went to Gainsborough Trinity. But, people who are going to away games every single week, or, like, for example, if you buy a season ticket, maybe that's 500 loyalty points straight away. Maybe that if you buy a season ticket, that's X amount, and then away games, depending on the distances, 10, 5 loyalty points, and then they'll just add up over the years, and then it becomes, tiered. Then it's tiered ticket releases if you've got over X amount.
I think the thing with that, Nath, is I really like that as an idea, but it's just not something you can really fairly backdate, I don't think. So I think you would have to start it fresh now.
I'm agreeing with
that.
But then
that is maybe also a problem, because people can't now buy season tickets to boost their score. They'll have to enter these lotteries of getting away tickets just to even establish a score. It's such a tricky situation. But I do think that maybe is a premium or a price you've got to pay and say, look, it's not ideal, but we're going to move ahead of this market, and we're going to do that as a scheme going forward. We know you're going to miss out. And yes, you might have been there watching us play 30, 40 years ago. You might have been coming since you're 6 years old. But ultimately, we'll all have to start with a clean slate. And from there, you're going to have to maybe build up your score, because I just can't see there being a way of sort of having it backdated or having sort of a legacy element of it.
I agree with you, and I'm saying start afresh, and I'm saying that it starts tomorrow. Say you immediately get 500. You're a season ticket holder. You've immediately got 500 points before you even start the season. I'm a member. Let's just say I get 50 points because I'm a member. Okay, so we've got just so that you've got some points in the account to build from. Ultimately, I think over the years, people who go to away games will continue to go to away games. Not everyone goes to these away games, and points will just generate. Those who've been going for a long time and who continue to go, and you see it every away game, will continue to just go, and we'll rack the points up. I know, like you say, there'll be people that if that was introduced would say, well, look, I would want it backdated. I know that's not the case, but I know Wales have a loyalty system. Teams up and down the leagues have loyalty systems, loyalty points.
Most sort of top level elite teams will do, and I think if you're trying to go up the divisions, there has to come a point where you implement it anyway. So why not try to implement it as soon as possible so people can start working towards building their points, building that tally up, like you said, Nate. I fully agree on that, and hopefully there can be a resolution on that. I think myself and Nate have made our own points clear, but like we said, there's the thread on Twitter. I fully understand from Wrexham's point of view why they try and get as much money and capitalise on the interest and the demand being this huge. Why would you not try and make as much money as you can? But ultimately, some decisions need to be for the right reasons, and it can't always be about trying to fill your coffers. It can't always be about trying to monetize every section of the club. Sometimes you've got to do what's right for the people. It's not just about milking us, because eventually there'll be no milk left. You'll take it all and realise you've increased prices across everything, and the interest will start to decline because people just simply can't afford it anymore. And I know right now that seems impossible, improbable. Wrexham's got to grow, but there'll come a point where it plateaus, and that's when you need your hardcore demographic of loyal fans to fall back on. And I just hope that Wrexham, like I said, I understand why they might want to put money up across the board, but there's some areas in which you just can't afford to do it. And while some aspects might go higher, some have to remain the same or even take a cut, because for Wrexham as well, you look at the increased cost of membership, it will be thousands of pounds, but we're dealing in millions of pounds now. So what's the point? What's the point of trying to get a few extra thousand when you're already making, the 20 million reported turnover that was boasted? I think for sometimes you've got to take that little monetary hit because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, Rich, it's, I echo that entirely. And I don't know, if I'm going to America, do I get like 1,000 loyalty points or something? I don't know. But it's one of the
role reversal there, isn't it? You're going to be the day tripper.
Yeah, I'm going to be the day tripper in Chapel Hill and Los Angeles. So yeah, do say hello if you see me over there. It's one of them, Rich, where look, I've obviously been pretty consistent in terms of the loyalty scheme. The season ticket exchange scheme or the ticket exchange scheme, I think's good. That's a good introduction.
I really like that as an idea.
I think ring fencing, I know this has had some criticism. I think ring fencing 75 tickets for international fans is a good idea. Is a solid idea. I don't dislike that idea. I think that is a solid idea. Gives them an opportunity, because they're logging on at 4 or 5 in the morning to try and get these tickets. I think ring fencing, I
also do get the sort of, we were here for sort of people who begrudge that, but I also personally, I think you can't value other fans against other ones. Everyone's got to have an equal opportunity to get tickets, and I think that you've got to embrace it. Again, it's a product of what we've become. If you want Wrexham to be a better football club, then they're going to attract more fans as a result. And the documentary being in the US, you've got 2 massive Hollywood A-listers backing us. I do not begrudge the American fans whatsoever, or fans from anywhere else in the world, for becoming Wrexham fans. And I think they deserve an opportunity to have the proper match day experience as well. So I agree with you. I think 75 tickets is a fair amount.
And my final point on this is that I'm educating myself all the time on the price of football, across the leagues, because you look at it and go, wow, £30, membership. Wow, that is, how does that stack up? And you look at it and go, well, it's what I got here, a Burnley membership is £35, an Aston Villa membership is £40. I know they're in the Premier League. But if you go to, Championship, Southampton have got a £30 membership. What I'm going to do with that
is about £30 as well.
What I'm going to do with that, I'm going to fill that out, and then I'm going to figure out a way to illustrate that on robryanred.com
Yeah,
and you can
and
have
what I'd also point out though is I saw lots of comments saying, well, this League Two team or this League One team, their membership costs more. But what I'd argue on that is, you don't need a membership to buy tickets to go watch Crew. You can turn up and just pay to watch Crew.
Right.
So it's not a gateway to being able to watch that team. Whereas in Wrexham case, it basically is. Like I said, if you want to go watch a proper meaningful Wrexham game, you have to at the very least be a member. So you're having to pay to join the club to have a chance of winning a ticket, basically. So I do think it's where you can compare prices like that as well. I think there is the caveat that a lot of these clubs, being a member,